So in this Webflow tutorial, I'll teach you how to create a live CMS filter in Webflow for free using Finsweet Attributes, Filter, and Sort. Again, this is a complete free solution, and I've used it for many, many years. Let's take a look at an example website that we will be building. Again, excuse the design, but the functionality does work. In this case, I have a bunch of CMS items. They are restaurants, and it has like the name, short description, and an image, followed by the tags. And if we go ahead and search, so there'll be a live search bar, we can type in KFC, and you'll notice the search is working. We even have a clear filter button, which clears everything. We can even tick different filter items like food and drinks, and it'll only show those ones. And lastly, if we go ahead and type in something random in the search bar and there's no results, there's even a empty state saying, sorry mate, no results found, clear filters. And lastly, you'll notice there's even a text that shows how many CMS items there are on the page and how many you are seeing based on what is filtered. So for example, if I tick in drinks, you'll notice it's showing 6 out of 7. So that means one restaurant doesn't sell drinks for some reason. If I go ahead and tick fast food, you'll notice it's showing 3 out of 7, KFC, Jollibee, and McDonald's. So let's go ahead and build this. Super fun, super powerful stuff. Let's get straight into Webflow. Okay, so starting out in Webflow, we're gonna go ahead and start with the CMS setup. Now, I've already created a tutorial in the past explaining in great detail how the CMS works. So feel free to check out that video, but the CMS button is right here on the top left of the screen. You'll notice I've already set up a CMS, and I encourage you, if you're a beginner, to just follow along. Otherwise, feel free to make your own CMS items and just follow along. So right now, I just have a collection called restaurants, and I have about 7 items, and they just have different fields. For example, we have KFC, Chargy, Coco, Jollibee, Pancakes on the Rock, and McDonald's, etc. So if we click into one of them, you'll notice I have the following fields, which I've already explained in the previous video. So we have the name of the restaurant, we have a slug, we have a short description describing the restaurant, and all I have is just an image. That's it. That's all I have. Obviously, you can go ahead and create more CMS fields if you wish. Now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and create the filters. So I want to go ahead and make each of these restaurants, CMS items, to have a tag or a filter. For example, I might put a filter of fast food restaurants. In that case, KFC, Jollibee, and McDonald's would be a part of it. I might put another filter called drinks. That way, Coco and Chargy will be a part of it. So whatever your collection is, let's go ahead and create that filters. So to do that, let's go ahead and create a new collection by hitting this plus. And I'm going to go ahead and just give it a collection name of filters. And that's it. I'm just going to leave all the collection fields how it is. I'm going to hit create collection. Then I'm going to go ahead and just manually create these new filters. Again, I'm probably going to give it names of like fast food, and I'll go ahead and hit create draft. Then I'll go ahead and create another one. Perhaps I'll call it food, and I'll go ahead and hit create draft. And I'll go ahead and add another one. Maybe I'll just call it drinks, and I'll go ahead and hit create draft. Now, if I go back, you'll notice that all of these are saved in draft format. So all we need to do is just hit select, toggle all of them, and change it from draft to queue to publish, queue items, and it's going to go ahead and allow me to reference these specific collection items. Now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and hit my main restaurants collection. I'm going to go ahead and hit settings, and I want to add a new custom field. Essentially, I want to add a field with multi-reference. So multi-reference allows us to tag more than one in each CMS items. So in this case, I'll give it a label of, let's just say tag, and I want to go ahead and pull in the collection of filters. Now I hit save field, save collection, and if I click into each one, I'm going to go ahead and tag it now. So for example, in KFC, I might put this as fast food, drinks, and food. Move over to Chargy, and for people who don't know, Chargy is just a bubble tea store, so I'll just put drinks. Coco, exact same premise, bubble tea store. So many bubble tea stores, right? Depending on where you live. Jollibee, famous fast food restaurant, so they sell fast food, drinks, and food. Pancake on the Rock, which is a diner in Australia, in Sydney specifically, they sell food and drinks. They are not a fast food company, so I'm not going to tag it as fast food. Going to move on to Sumo Nikki, which is just the drinks and food. Again, not a fast food. And McDonald's or Macdo or Macca's in Australia. Haha. We're going to go ahead and put this as all of them. They sell drinks, they're fast food, and they're food. So now if I just go back, again, all I've done is just created a collection called it restaurants, gave it some fields like restaurant name, images, and description. Then I've gone ahead and made a separate collection called filters, and I've just referenced that in each of the restaurants. So now if I go back into the designer view, I'm going to go ahead and just build out the main collection list. So actually what I'm going to do, believe it or not, is I'm going to go ahead and add a form. That's right, a form block. And for people who are absolute beginners, what I'm doing is I'm hitting Command E or whatever the equivalent is in Windows. And I'm going to go ahead and just type in the element that I want to add. So I just typed in form. Otherwise, you can also hit this plus button right here. You can go ahead and scroll to that section and then just drag it onto the canvas. Just letting you know that's what I'm doing. So with the form block added, you'll notice I've pinned my navigator on the left-hand side so you can always see where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and expand this. And I'm going to go ahead and expand the form. And I'm just going to delete everything inside the form. We don't need the name. We don't need this text field. We don't need this email. We don't need this text field or the submit button. So we just have the form. And you may be questioning, like, why is this guy telling me to put a form? Like, isn't this a tutorial about, CMS filters? Well, that's because we're using a solution for free by Finsweet, as mentioned earlier, where we need the form in order to use the functionalities, which is checkbox and radio buttons. That's how we set the filters. So we're going to go ahead and put everything inside a form. This is a very important step. I'm going to start by adding a collection. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the source, which is the restaurant. From here, inside the collection item, I'm going to go ahead and just add a div block, give it a class of restaurant card, and I'll go ahead and just add the elements real quick, like heading. Maybe I'll make a header 2. Go ahead and pull in the name of the restaurant, and then I'll add a paragraph text. I'll go ahead and pull in the short description, and I'll also add in an image, which is the thumbnail image. Go ahead and pull in that thumbnail image. Now I'm just going to go ahead and select the collection list, give this a class of CMS list, and perhaps I'll change this from block to grid, and I'll change this to a 3-column layout with a gap of 30 pixels. And obviously you can style it however you want. This video is about the functionality, not necessarily about the aesthetics. So now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and just select that form and maybe give it a class of form item. And I'm just going to put some padding around everything. And that looks cool. All right, we can style this more if you wish, but I'm just going to leave it how it is. The next thing I'm going to do is just add a div block inside this form underscore item. And I'm just going to drag it above the collection list wrapper. And this is where our filter is going to be sitting. So I'm going to give this a class of filter underscore UI. And perhaps I'll change the background color to be this light gray. And I'm going to go ahead and add another collection list. And this time I'm going to select the source as the filters. So now that's done, we have 2 collections. One is the restaurants, the top is those items. And then we're going to link it together and make everything work. Super cool. So let's go ahead and inside these collection items, because we wrapped everything inside a form block, we can actually go ahead and add a checkbox or a radio button. And this is what the filter is going to be. So in my case, I'm going to add a checkbox. And inside the checkbox, I'm going to go ahead and hit settings. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the text of the name. And you notice there it is. I'm going to go ahead and select that filter UI and perhaps just give it some padding like so. And that's it. Now we need to actually add another collection list inside our restaurant card. So we'll go ahead and just add another collection list. And this time in the source, we'll pull the multi-reference field of tag, and we'll go ahead and just add a text box. And I'm going to go ahead and connect this text box with the name. Now you'll notice that this specific filters or the tags, fast food, drinks, and food, is going to be corresponding with this one at the top, the filters, which we'll be clicking. So this is how everything links. So obviously you might not want these specific tags to be shown. In that case, you can just hide it, but I'm just going to show it temporarily so you can understand the premise. Now we're going to jump into the magic part, which is heading over to finsweet.com/attributes. And this is a free solution. So there's actually paid solutions such as jetboost.io, which is you have to pay per month, I believe. But this is completely free by Finsweet. And I love Finsweet. I'm not even being paid by saying that. But if anyone's watching from Finsweet, please hire me, please. But they recently made a second version, like a 2.0 version. Previously, they have a version 1, which is right here, Attributes V1. If you actually click into it, it takes you to their old page. In this tutorial, I'm actually just going to explain the V1, not the V2. But if you understand V1, you automatically understand the premise of V2. And another thing is V1 still works to this day. I recommend you use V2, but just follow along with V1. So all this is is just a bunch of directory with really cool power-ups for your Webflow site. You can see there's many, and I plan to make a tutorial on each one, but we're gonna start off with CMS filter. And I remember the first time I used this on a client project, my mind was blown, and the amount of value that I provided the client was absurd. So let's go ahead and select this CMS filter. Again, I'll leave this link in the bio, but it's finsweet.com/attributes/v1/cms-filter. Again, I'm using v1. Please keep that in mind. So all we need to do is just follow the docs, but here to guide you step by step. First thing we need to do is just copy this script, head over back to our Webflow project, head over to page settings. So this is the page settings of wherever the filter is. In my case, it's in my home page, but in your case, it might be the blog page or the project page or etc. Hit the settings, scroll all the way down to the head tag and just paste it right there, hit save. Step one, let's move on to the next one, which is adding a list. So right here, we need to identify the list. We'll go ahead and copy this attribute of name right here. And what we're actually using is, especially if you're a beginner, you might be mind blown about this. We're using a functionality in Webflow called attributes. So with this copied, fs CMS filter dash element, heading back to Webflow, let's go ahead and select the CMS list. And keep in mind, in CMS collections, there's 3 different tiers. We have the list wrapper, the list, and the collection item. I'm selecting the middle child, which is CMS list. I'm gonna go ahead and hit settings on the right-hand side. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice there's a field called custom attributes. If you guys are complete beginners, you might be mind blown right now. But let's go ahead and hit plus, and there's 2 different fields, the name and the value. We just need to copy and paste them over. So I've already copied the name, which is fs-cms filter-element. Head over back to the docs and copy the value, which is list, and I'll just paste it right here. That's done. Let's move on to the next step, which is the filters. So right now we'll copy this attribute, and we want to paste this essentially inside the form block form. So not the form block itself, but the form, in my case, I call it form_item. So that first div that sits underneath the form block. By default, it's called form. So with that selected, in settings, I'll scroll down, add that as a custom attribute, go back to the docs, and paste in the value, which is filters. And that's it. Let's move on to the next step, filter identifier. So let's copy the first one, which is the name. And where we want to paste this is in our checkbox right here, as well as our multi-reference field right here. And just keep in mind, because CMS is a duplicated item, as I explained in my previous tutorial, it doesn't matter where you place this. So for example, if I go ahead and hit drinks right here, checkbox label, I can scroll down in settings and that custom attribute of name. And then with the value, you can define the value similar to a CSS class. So you just have to remember what you put, and they both just have to be the same. In my case, I'm just gonna call it tag. That's it. Now I put this in drinks, right? And because this is a CMS, for those who are absolute beginners, everything is automatically added into every other CMS item. That's why everything is duplicated, and we're pulling in dynamic content. So if I hit fast food, for example, you'll notice if I scroll down, the custom attribute is still there. So again, it doesn't really matter which one you apply it to, as long as you apply it to one of the CMS items. Let's go ahead and go into the specific restaurant card, and we'll go into the multi-reference field right here, and we'll go ahead and scroll down and paste in that custom attribute and give it the exact same value. This is very important, otherwise they won't link together. So I put tag, T-A-G, and that's literally it, guys. Believe it or not, all we did was we created a collection list with, in my case, just a bunch of restaurants. Then we've gone ahead and added a multi-reference field where we can go ahead and tag each of the restaurant items. Then we've gone ahead and added the collection list of the tags at the top, and they're now linking together because we used attributes. Now if we go ahead and publish our site right here and just test it out, believe it or not, especially if you're a beginner, you'll be mind blown. So as you can see right here, we have the page with about 7 CMS items. You'll notice, for example, pancake on the rocks does not have any other tag but food. So let's go ahead and just toggle drinks. Boom, this only shows restaurant with drinks. How cool is that? Let's go ahead and untick drinks and we'll tick fast food. This is only showing fast food items. This is amazing stuff. And hopefully you can understand how powerful this is and the different variables. So for example, because we use checkboxes, that by nature means we can tick more than one. So we can tick drinks and food, right? Now it's gonna show drinks and food, or food. You might be having a question, if you're really technical, you'll be like, If I take drinks and food, I only want CMS items to have drinks and food, not and or, right? This is when you start to think like a developer. We're not going to cover that, but the docs actually covers everything. What we're going to do now is we're just going to add a few power-up, very common ones. One is we're going to add a live search bar, super cool stuff. Another one is we're going to add a clear filter field. And another one, we're going to add an empty state. And we're going to finally top it off with a result count. So let's quickly do this. Heading back to the docs right here, we can scroll down and you'll notice there's more attributes to use. Strongly encourage you to read through everything and just test each one by one. Now you understand the premise. But again, I'm going to go over the most common ones. So let's go ahead and add a search bar. I'm going to go ahead and drop this down. And literally, a search bar is a text field. Believe it or not, it's crazy stuff. That's why we're using forms. Again, all credit goes to Finsweet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Webflow. And inside the filter UI, I'm just going to go ahead and type in input. And this is the input field found in the forms. So just in case you're a beginner, if I hit plus and we scroll down to the forms right here, you'll notice there's a field called input that only works inside form blocks. That's what we're using. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this a class straight away of maybe search bar. And maybe I want to round this, like put the radius to be 50 VW. So now it's rounded. And I'll drag this to the top. And you'll notice where it says example text, this is just the placeholder text. So we can go ahead and double click it. And where it says placeholder, perhaps we just want to call it like search ... And that's it. So we can go ahead and style this how we want. Maybe we'll put some more bottom margin of 1 rem. That looks cool. And now heading back to the specific docs, we can go ahead and copy that name right here and just paste it into that input, the search bar. In settings, custom attributes, paste that there. Head back to the docs and you'll notice where it says value, again, it says identifier. This means we can put whatever we want. We can put tag, which we already defined, or we can put something super powerful, and that's this specific asterisk button, this asterisk character right here, which means it will automatically tag everything. I'll go ahead and explain what this means a bit further, but let's use this. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go ahead and just paste it in value. That's what I'm pasting right here. We can, of course, also use, in my case, tag. This will also work, but this will only work in cases where I use tag. Whereas if I use this specific key, it's going to search everything that has an identifier, which again, I'll explain much more clearly once I give you an example. So in this case, I'm putting this, and that's it. Literally, that's it. Like, believe it or not, guys, that's literally it. Now, if I republish my site, this is a live search bar. This is how, it's just like 2 buttons. So if I refresh the page, you'll notice I now have a live search bar. Again, how much would you charge clients for this? You know, this is mind-blowing stuff. And the fact that it's all free by Finsweet is beyond me. So right now, you'll notice I can go ahead and just type in, let's just say food, and it works, right? I can go ahead and type in drinks, and it works. What I cannot do in my situation is I can't type in the name. For example, if I type in KFC, nothing shows up. We need to start thinking like developers. Why is this not working? And hopefully you guys aren't, absolute beginners in Webflow. Even if you are, huge congratulations. Something's wrong with the code. Something's not linking. Something's not right. Typically, as Webflow developers, we reverse engineer everything. So in this case, logically in my brain, I'll just give you the answer. We only set the identifier with these specific tags, like drinks, food, and fast food, the filters. That's why it's working and not the name. So all we need to do, head back to Webflow. If we want to search the name, we select that name. We'll scroll down to custom attributes, go back to the docs, scroll back up to field identifier, just copy the name right here, go back to Webflow, paste that in, and we'll just give it a different value. We wouldn't give it the value of tag. In this case, we'll just call it name. That's literally it. Now, if we republish the site, you'll notice I can type in the search bar, chargee, and it's showing chargee. It's so cool, right? If I cross this out and I just type in C, it'll show everything that has a C in the specific name. And I can actually filter on top of this, all live, instant. For example, I want restaurants that start with a C and I only want it to be drink. You know what I mean? It's all done. Super cool stuff. Let's go ahead and also use the description. So right now I have a text description. For example, in KFC, the description is KFC Corporation doing business as KFC is an American fast food. So it has the word American in this description. And if I type in American right now, it's not going to work. So let's go back into the Webflow and we'll go ahead and simply select that paragraph text, go into custom attributes, paste in the name, which is fs-cms filter-field, in version 1 of Finsweet Attributes. And I'll give it a value of description, DESC. Now if I publish the site and I refresh the page, if I go ahead and type in America, you'll notice it's pulling here because it's pulling in the description now. Wow, you guys are like developers. And again, all credit goes to Finsweet. But if your clients come up to you and say, hey, what if I want this? You now know how to do it. And hopefully you're charging properly for your time. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned in my business/freelance course, you are pretty much paid in proportion to the value you offer in this under the sun world. So that's cool. One thing I noticed is I want a clear button, So perhaps, I search something like C, I tick in like food, and I just, in order to clear everything, I have to double click it and then, hit the backspace. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into the docs. I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way down. You'll notice there's one that says clear right here. Literally, it's the exact same name, but the value is clear. So I'm going to copy the name again, go back to Webflow, and we can put whatever we want. We can put a text, we can put a button, whatever you want. So in my case, I'll just put a button. I'll just give it a button text of clear this filter, yo, yabba. And I'm going to go ahead and select that button. And with buttons, we want to make sure that there is no URL linked. But in custom attributes, we'll paste in the name and we'll just paste in the value clear. And again, this value has to be whatever's in the docs. Just keep that in mind. Only the filter tag identifier can be whatever you want. So now I've added clear. That's cool. We'll go ahead and republish the site, refresh the page, and I'll just tick in drinks, food, and I'll search in like CH. And now if I want to clear all the filters, I literally just hit this button. Boom. This is very powerful stuff. And hopefully you can understand this is not even that hard to set up once you understand the premise. Let's go ahead and add some more common stuff, which is empty state, as well as how many items there are showing. So for empty state, if I type in the search some random string of text, obviously nothing shows up. But from user experience perspective, it's kind of like, why is there a blank screen? As developers, we probably know because we coded this functionality. But as a user, it's not that good. So we should put something like, sorry, no results found or something. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and go back to Webflow. All we need to do is just literally add a div block below everything inside our form item. We'll give this a class of empty state, and you can literally style this whatever you want, right? This is Webflow we're talking about, guys. Let's go ahead and just add some padding, and I'll go ahead and change the background color to red, and maybe I'll just add a text box, and I'll go ahead and just type in the text, sorry, mate, no results found, LOL. And maybe in the no results, it would make sense to put a button that says reset filters, would it not? So in this case, maybe I'll add a heading to make it look, more nicer. Maybe I'll put heading 3, just copy that error text, and then I'll go ahead and just add, let's say, a text link right here, and I'll just give this a name of like clear filters. Go ahead and hit the settings, and I'll just paste in that, attribute, which is back to the docs, hit the name, go back, paste the name, and the value is clear. And maybe I'll just style this so it's in the middle, so flex, down, and then that's it. That's the empty state, right? Now if we hit publish and we refresh the page and we'll go ahead and just type in some random stuff. Wow, there's now an empty state. How cool is that? That's really cool. I remember when I first discovered this. And because we're Webflow developers, I don't even need to go in and tell you how to make this mobile responsive. Everything's already there. You don't have to second guess yourself. If I go into like, let's say, mobile landscape, this is a bit tight. So I'll go ahead and remove the column to 2, and this text is off a line. So I'll go ahead and put this to center. You know what I mean? Like it's all there. There's nothing that is not disjointed. It's really smooth. Like I can't credit Finsweet enough. This is revolutionary. I have so much passion. That's why I'm talking like this. All right, guys, let's add finally the results count. So let's go back into the docs. We'll scroll down, and where it says results count, this is showing how many CMS items there are in total. So let's go back into Webflow, and maybe we'll put the results count somewhere here. So let's put a div block, and I'll just give this class of results count, and maybe I just want to add it just below the filter items, like right here, and I'll just give it some top and bottom padding, and I'll just change the background color so you guys can see it to be like this green, and I'll just put some padding, and I'll go ahead and just add in the text block. And now I'm going to go ahead and type in like a text like you are seeing X amount of results from X, right? And where I put X is just going to be dynamic content. It's going to be replaced with dynamic content. What I'm trying to say is like, if we go ahead and filter food, it might say you are seeing 3 items out of a total of 7. That's really the correct wording. I went crazy with it, guys. So let's go back into the docs. Let's go ahead and select that results count. Copy the first one, which is almost always the same, fs-cms filter-element. Head back into Webflow. We'll go ahead and put a text span in the X, so we can go ahead and target this. Hit settings, go back to custom attributes, paste that in, go back to the docs and paste in result count. And it actually should be the other way, but it's okay. We'll scroll down to the next one, which is item count. We'll go ahead and just copy the top one, paste it into the next X. We're gonna wrap it in the span first. Go back into settings, paste in the name, go back to the docs and copy items-count, paste that in. Now we'll go ahead and publish the site, and just keep in mind, I reversed it, so it wouldn't really make sense, but it doesn't matter as long as you understand the premise. And now if we refresh the page, you'll notice it's saying you are seeing 7 amount of results from 7. Again, my English is terrible, but if we go ahead and just tick in drinks, you'll notice it's saying you are seeing 6 out of 7 results. If I go ahead and tick fast food, it's showing 3 out of 7. I actually had the order correct. Wow. But now we put that, sort order. So that's essentially how you make a CMS filter live. Again, this is a very powerful functionality. All credit goes to Finsweet. I strongly recommend you check out everything else you can do. You can do so much more. Here is an example website that I created, which is the sba.com.au/directories. In this case, it's all built in the Webflow CMS, and it's showing company profiles. And in each company profiles, it has different tags like speciality, like for example, passive solar or new homes. This is like a construction building company, for example. And you'll notice they even have badges where you can complete a course and get a badge. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, we have the search. So I can just type in PACHE. It's showing me the results, but it's a bit more powerful here. Here, you can see there's a filter by tag right here for better user experience. If I go ahead and tick construction 1, you'll notice it's filtering and in this case. If I go ahead and close one of the filters, powerful, right? I can go ahead and hit this X to exit that filter, that specific one, or I can just click into the checkbox. Like this is a checkbox, by the way. It's just styled custom, which I've already made a tutorial in the past. But that's it. Really cool stuff. You'll notice, for example, if there's a lot of filters, I put overflow auto, which again, I made a tutorial in the past, where you have this scroll bar, so it doesn't take too much of the screen. This is a really cool and powerful functionality. Again, like I mentioned, there are competitors out there like JetBoost, this one right here, which does a similar thing, and you still need to set it up, but it actually costs, like $19 a month, for example. So I strongly encourage you to use this Finsweet solution. Super cool stuff and very fun to use. So hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Derek Su. I'm a Sydney-based web designer and Webflow developer. I actually post a lot on my YouTube channel, free content in regards to design, Webflow, and freelance/business. In fact, I've made a course on Webflow, perfect for beginners. I go over in great detail everything about Webflow from an absolute beginner. But I also have a course on my freelance/business where I teach you all the high-level premise of how to run a freelance business, specifically in the Webflow or creative space. So feel free to check that out in the description. Otherwise, please give this video a like. It really helps me out in the algorithm. Check out more of my videos right here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.